Hi, my name is Chris, and welcome to a new episode of What Went Wrong, a web series that explores the success and failures of films throughout the modern era. Now, 2015 has been and gone, and we've been treated to some great films, and some not so great films. So in this episode, we look at what went wrong, and list my worst films of 2015. So, for full disclosure, this list is based only on what I have seen. There will be lots of real stinkers missing from this list, such as Mortdecai, The Last Witch Hunter, Blart 2, and Hot Pursuit, just to name a few. In most cases, it's just because I knew these films were going to be so bad that I didn't want to warrant viewing them. So my list often comprises of movies that were disappointing, didn't live up to their expectations, were either downright bad, or were completely misleading in their marketing. But obviously, worst films of 2015 sounds a whole lot better than disappointing, poorly marketed films that didn't meet expectations of 2015. Plus, that would just be impossible to search for on YouTube or Google. So, without any further delay, let's look at some of 2015's biggest clunkers. Now, those who follow my reviews will know that this is the only movie this year that I gave 0 stars to. So why is it not higher on the list? The main reason is that there was no expectations going into this film, so I wasn't disappointed or let down. I was certainly offended by the appalling dialogue and the pretentious approach to storytelling. The film makes two of the world's biggest stars bland and uninteresting in ways that only M. Night Shyamalan could do to Will Smith. But the blame falls squarely on Jolie's shoulders here for taking on both writing and directing duties, as she tries to create an art film without apparently doing any research on what an art film actually is.
You told me this was going to be a simple extraction. They were waiting for me. What was waiting for me was barely human.
This may seem like an odd one to have on the list, but honestly, it all comes down to having a film with a world full of potential that never does anything with it. You have Henry Cavill, fresh off the Man of Steel hype, providing one of the most wooden performances of the year. The film cuts away from the action at every opportunity it gets, and then the biggest sin of all is hiring Guy Ritchie and then not letting him do his Guy Ritchie thing. It is such a reserved and restrained delivery from Ritchie that I now worry that the once kinetic director has just become a director for hire. The only saving grace in this whole film was the performance of Armie Hammer, but unfortunately, that was not enough to get this past mediocre.
Oh, and you have a new code name.
Code name?
Uncle.
Okay, you ready?
Oh, shit. Yeah.
Here it comes.
Okay, I'm ready.
Boom, boom.
Let's all go to court.
Boom, boom.
Hey, you lawyer guys. You don't know me and Johnny are watching you while we're high.
You know, I really loved the first Ted movie. I thought the jokes landed well, the pop culture references were on point, and the banter between Wahlberg and McFarlane's foul-mouthed bear became my new favourite comedy duo. 3 years later, and wow, what a difference. McFarlane failed in his follow-up, A Million Ways to Die in the West, and stunk as an Oscars host. And then he gave us Ted 2, which was about as funny as Family Guy is today. Now come on guys, let's face it, it's nowhere near as good as it used to be. The jokes were either too obvious, too drawn out, or set up only to never deliver. There were ideas that were set up and then completely forgotten about. It had all the cohesiveness and fluidity of the last 5 seasons of Family Guy.
Take that, motherfucker! Hey, that's what you get for fucking exercising!
Hey.
Lenny. Good to see you.
You too. Kim's doing okay?
Yeah, seems like the usual, Kim.
You know, when you stop and think about it, this series has had the identical pattern to the Hangover series. An exciting first installment, a second installment that's essentially a Xerox copy of the first film, and then a third installment that seems to forget everything that made the film series good in the first place. Yep, the third Taken completely forgot to take anyone, and they got just lazy and decided to make Liam Neeson indestructible. Seriously, there's a scene where his car drives off a cliff, rolls down a hill and then explodes, and then the very next scene he just comes walking up the hill and just brushes it off like nothing happened. Look, fingers crossed that they don't make another one of these.
They'll find you, and they'll stop you. Good luck.
I love you, my Peter. You are extraordinary. More than you can imagine. I promise that you will see me again in this world. This is the beginning. Or another.
An origin story that no one asked for and answers absolutely nothing you actually wanted to know if you had even the remotest interest in Peter Pan and his subsidiary characters. With just odd choices all around, from including Nirvana and Ramones songs being sung by pirates who wear far too much eyeliner and look like they've been dressed by drag queens, to Hugh Jackman just getting senior citizens old for no apparent reason in the middle of the film, to the noble savages being swapped out for every other ethnicity that's not white. So, less racist? Add to this Rooney Mara adding all the charisma and charm of a cardboard cutout of Rooney Mara, and you understand why this was one of the biggest financial disappointments of the year.
Come on, kid. Make them believe.
I believe. I believe.
Mermaid Lagoon.
I think you're gonna rock him.
You can say that again.
Remember, the magic will only last so long. At the last stroke of midnight, the spells will be broken, and all will return to what it was before.
Cinderella, gotta admit it. Didn't watch it all the way through, it's just awful. Next.
Where there is kindness, there is goodness. And where there is goodness, there is magic.
I look at each of you, and I see the marks of this long and terrible war. If we die tonight, mankind dies with us.
A movie that makes Terminator 3 and Salvation actually look good. This latest installment takes all your favourite moments from the first 2 movies and then acts like none of it ever happened. With some of the most confusing and contradictory moments involving Skynet, sending multiple Terminators back to different time periods, even though Skynet wins the first time Kyle Reese is sent back. And let's stop for a second. Who the f*** gives Jai Courtney all these big film roles? He admitted to not watching Michael Biehn's performance before filming, and it shows. Nothing about his character even suggests Kyle Reese. The oddest thing about this whole affair is that director Alan Taylor went to great lengths to talk about how Marvel Studios interfered with his final vision for Thor: The Dark World, yet he said he had complete freedom when making this film. I don't know about you, but I know which film I would pick as the better of the two.
We can stop Judgment Day from happening.
Run! Where is he?
In 1982, NASA launched a time capsule into space containing examples of our life and culture in hopes of contacting extraterrestrial life. Unfortunately, the message was taken the wrong way.
You know, Adam Sandler's been insulting our intelligence for years, but I don't think that the blame for this film lies entirely on his shoulders. Don't get me wrong, he's taking the piss when he casts Kevin James as the President of the United States, who can't read or write and just moves from one stupid action to another, and yet somehow manages to get an increase in popularity for the polls. But the big issue is with Sony. One, for letting him do all this for years on end, and two, for always feeling the audience won't understand things unless all the characters are connected in some way before properly meeting in the narrative. They've done this in Men in Black, all the Spider-Man movies, 21 Jump Street, and guaranteed they're going to do this in every other movie they release from here until foreclosure. There was no reason for Sandler to be lifelong childhood friends with the President of the United States, nor did he need to meet Michelle Monaghan's character before getting to the White House. The biggest disappointment of all, though, is that this film even dragged Christopher Columbus's name down with it.
May I introduce to you the creator of Pac-Man?
Professor Iwatani, what are you doing?
I will talk to him. He's my son. Hello, my sweet little boy. Look how big you've grown.
It's so sweet. He's so sweet.
You're a good boy.
Somebody kill this Swifty!
I'm building something. Reed, did it work? I don't know yet.
You know, I've said it before and I'll say it again. If they just called this film anything other than the Fantastic Four, then no one would have given a shit. But they didn't, so everyone tore it to pieces. I think the biggest mistake this film made, and believe me, they made a lot, is that it seemed to be afraid to admit that it was a superhero movie. In a cinema climate where superhero films are at their all-time high, why would you work so hard not to embrace the elements that will make people actually go and see your film? At the end of the day, this film was an exercise in why you should never rush a film project, especially if your sole reason for doing it is to maintain the film rights.
He's stronger than any of us. But he's not stronger than all of us. You guys ready to have your minds blown?
Shall I alert the fire department?
For full disclosure, my top picks have actually been subject to a cease and desist order from Studio Canal, who have blocked my reviews on YouTube for using footage from their films. I'm not sure why. It might be because I used the term shit sandwich in each of the reviews. So, anyway, let's get to it. My top pick is actually 3 films, which I call the Simon Pegg Shit Sandwich Trilogy. This year, poor Simon Pegg has released 3 complete duds: Kill Me 3 Times, Absolutely Anything, and Man Up. These films either critically underused Pegg, gave him little or nothing to work with, or create a genuinely unlikable character, yet tried to play him as a hero with no actual endearing qualities. It's a real pity because at the end of the day, he has produced some great work over the years, from Spaced to Star Trek to Mission Impossible, but it seems when he takes on a starring role, he just picks the wrong films. So, that's my list. Just to reiterate, these are not the worst of the worst movies of 2015. These are just the movies that I found to be a waste of my time and my money. So, what movies could you not stand in 2015? Do you agree or disagree with my choices? Don't be afraid to leave a comment below. Also, if you want to check out my original reviews for each of these films, then click on the links in the description below. If you want to see my list of the top 10 films of 2015, then you can find it on my YouTube page. And if you're enjoying all of this, then don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. This is Chris Cooch for the Film Lounge, signing off.